Salakia. Right. Where was that again? Um. All right. Going back into verses 12. Salakia for that again. Salakia. It says, so this device pleased them well. All right. And again, remember what the father to what said we were supposed to be. Separate. Omega precept and verse 20 and verse 26. It says, Leviticus 20 and 26, and ye shall be holy unto me, for I Yahweh am holy, and have severed you from the other people, that ye should be mine. So the fact that the children of Israel are trying to run back to these wicked nations to be a part of them should be ludicrous. But at the end of the day, these things happen because it's part of prophecy. It's for a reason. Let's go back into verses 12. It says, so this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license, like I said, to do after the ordinances of the heathen. To do after the ordinances of the who? Heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. And it was worse, because the place of exercise was called gymnasium, was what? It was a naked gym. Meaning they used to be in that area naked as they're born. There are jakes who used to even try to resew their foreskin, because it was a shame for a man in their country, in that nation, to be circumcised. They used to practice the most unclean, abominable acts in these naked gyms with other men. Understand the history, and this is in the encyclopedia and Jewish encyclopedia. What I'm quoting here is in the Jewish encyclopedia. So there's, aside from what is given here, which we could read further and see more, there are worse facts about them. So when I explain something, then you could understand, because when you go into the encyclopedia itself, you would see what I'm talking about. Let's keep going. It says, whereupon they build places of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathens. You see, so they begin to partake and follow the ways of the heathens, right? Let's keep going. It says, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and was sold to do mischiefs. So in two forms they did that. One, by resewing their foreskin, and two, by making that covenant with that heathen, and forsaking the ways of the Father, which is the commandments and statutes and judgments, fully severing him or them from the Father itself, which is why it says in Leviticus chapter 18, which you like to go into, and verses 29, it says, for whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore shall ye keep mine ordinance, that ye commit not any of these abominable customs which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am Yahweh, your power. So for that act of disobedience against all the ways of the Father, which they have done time and time again, they have shown their disobedience, they were exiled. They are cut off from among their people. They were exiled from the land of Yahweh Shem Yoshai. And he made sure of it by placing what? Heathens there to keep them out. Who are the heathens he placed there? One being the so-called Edom. It was put there for a purpose. It was saying everything that happens for a reason. So if the bulk of the Jakes decided to partake in the customs and the ways of the Greeks at that point in time, because they see it as a profitable way to survive or live, that is their mindset, instead of calling on the name of Yahweh Shem Yoshai to receive and keeping his ways so that we can receive the blessings according to the scriptures, and hey, that's just basically another delusion to them, which is our forefathers, probably even some of us today. Let's be real. So going back into it, with that understand that we did what? Let's read it again. That we did what? Forsook Let's read it again. And made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant. And notice, even if it's two parts, making themselves uncircumcised, according to even Romans, is to what, be a breaker of thy law. This is how they forsook the holy covenant. They broke they don't want to hear about the law again. They are breaking the law because what they see living with these heathens and keeping their customs as more profitable than keeping the ways of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. These wicked jakes. Let's keep going. Let's go up a little bit. Let's jump up to verse 41. It says, and moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws, as said. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. It says, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Shabbat. Now we understand how religions came about. Because the Israelites never based their lives on what religions we have today, like things like that. But now we see that being a practice back in the Greco to Greco-Roman Empire. So it says, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religions and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Shabbat, showing that they are willingly being part of the uncircumcision, willingly breaking the ways of the Father, willingly forsaking the Shabbat, willingly forsaking the covenant. It says, for the king had sent letter by messenger unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judea that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Shabbat and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, as mentioned. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. More of the polluting of thy people, as seen here. That it says that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, meaning not to cut their foreskin, not to remove that flesh, so that they could have a better growth and development in that region, aside from being a covenant given from Yahweh Shem Yahushai to them. So you see how it gets worse according to the more we read, and it's even more worse when you look up the history itself. And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. It goes on to say, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. You see, there's the point, to forget the law and change all the ordinances, right? Which was why we have Gentiles today, which are Jakes, because what? To the point at the end, to do what? To the end they might forget all the law and change all the ordinances, so that if they have children and children's children and children's children's children, depending on how long they were in the Greek Empire, they would have not known the ways of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, because it would have been lost to them. Because the purpose of Antiochus Epiphanes doing this and making this decree is so that they could forget their laws and change all their ordinances. even to the point that if they continue in it, even after the decree was set upon, let's read in verse 50 and see what happens. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. So they would be willing to unalive you if you choose not to follow after the ways of the wicked king. We understanding now how the Jews became Gentiles or Greek, because they could not keep their ordinances, keep their practices, keep their customs, keep the ways of the Father in the kingdoms that was taken over by Antiochus from Alexander. If you could understand that point alone, then you can understand how the Jews became the Gentiles, how the circumcision was made uncircumcision. So, but we have more. And you know I like to bring more information regardless. But let me keep reading from verses 51. It even shows more gruesome evidence as to what was taking place. It says, in the self-same manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appoint overseers over all the people, commanded the cities of Judea, you see, to sacrifice. It said to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them to wit every one that forsook the law. And so they committed evil in the land. What did they do? Committed evil in the land. They were slaying their own people for keeping the ways of the Father. They were breaking the backs of their people to change their mindsets from the ways and customs and practices and laws of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for. I don't know, I could not pronounce this word, but it is what it is. I know it means that. So, succor, Salakia for the pronunciation. Anyways, right, so. And yes, verse 52 is supposed to read some up to, but it doesn't matter. It even gives more information here. So, this is what was taking place at the point in time. Right? Let's even get a precept in second Maccabees. We jump into it for a reason, because we don't want the lesson to be too long. We don't end up with a part 2 already, which wasn't trying to, but that's a small thing. As it goes on to say, again, I know we already know this priest. We already know this priest. We went through this already. It says, let's go into 2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verses 1, proving that the Israelites become the Greeks or Gentiles because of what? Unable to keep their ways and customs, and were forced. Few were forced, but many accepted. You understand? So the few that were forced, and there are many that accepted the ways of the Father, which is the majority of the chicks at that time. Many would have accepted the ways of the Father. Would have accepted the ways of the heathen, and not the ways of the Father, and reject the ways of the Father, forsaking the Holy Covenant. Salakia for that. Separate it up. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, you see, and not to live after the laws of power, like you said, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, and that the garrison of that in garrison of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwell in the place. As they did desire that dwell in the place. It says, the coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. the temple was filled with riot and reveling by Gentiles who dealt with harlots. Wow, into the temples, right? Those shit, Bob. Anyways, so it's just showing the kind of wickedness that was taking place at that time, right? So, who dealt with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. The altar also was filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth. See? It says, neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath or ancient fasts, or to profess himself to at all be a Jew. So if in that time, and we always go into this, if in that time you were unable to keep the ways and customs of the Jew, of the Israelite, of the Jakes, or call yourself a Jew, you can't even profess, you can't even say, hey, I from so tribe. You can't even say it. It can't even be uttered. It can't be followed, nor can it be uttered. What can you then call yourselves? And this is to the Jews, the Jakes that were still trying to keep the ways of the of Yahweh Shem Yoshai, and were forced not to do so, as mentioned. What will you then call yourself? What can you then call yourself? Because if the majority of your people agree to the customs of the heathens, which were Greek, what would you then call yourself? A Greek. There's only one way through it. That's why they are neither Jews nor Greeks, because many of the Jews accepted the customs and grew up under the Greekish customs, making themselves Gentiles, making themselves what? Uncircumcision, making themselves a breaker of the covenant, making them exile unto this very land where they can't, but they don't know themselves anymore. Where they see glory in doing wickedness and seeing failure in doing good. This is the mindset that they had at that time. To the point, like I said, going to a history where they were willingly doing their best to restore their foreskin on their penis. Do you know how hard that is? Not to mention the bacteria and this infection someone would have gotten for trying to restore their foreskin, which is long gone, onto their penis. They would have to acquire something else, another form of flesh, to restore foreskin on their penis. This is how bad it was for those who didn't know. Let's jump down a little bit. It says, right, verses 9, and whosoever would not commit themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. Now you understand more and more, because Antiochus in First Maccabees chapter 1 and verses 50 made that mention. You don't want to follow my decree, I will unalive you. We get back in the same precept, Maccabees chapter 1 again and verse 50. Let's read it again. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. So when you go into the history, you would understand the mystery of the Greeks or the Gentiles. It's something that you cannot get around. It's an undeniable fact. Because of their willful disobedience. Because of their willful disobedience, They became like the Greeks because of their gentile state of mind, their actions, their belief, because of a little hardship, is why they are known as Greeks. We have to understand that. Remember, like that precept in Ezra. Remember when Ezra came to set things right and to bring and to speak to his people, the Israelites. What happened? And they reject. Let's read what happened. Ezra received a charge of Yahweh upon Mount Oreb, that I should go unto Israel, as mentioned. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught, and despised the commandment of Yahweh. And therefore I say unto you, O ye heathens. Why would we be called heathens after we were identified as the children of Israel, as Israel? Because why? Of our disobedience. This is why it says it's not to be a Jew outwardly, but inwardly. Because what? Your disobedience. It stems from your obedience unto the ways of the Father. If you believe Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, you will obey him. You're not going to believe somebody 100% and say, yeah, I believe in it, but I'm still going to do this. That's not belief. You believe something, you will work towards it. You'll push for it. If you believe something. You understand where I'm coming from? This is what it goes into. So understanding that they were called heathens for their disobedience. O ye heathen, that hear and understand, look for your shepherd, he shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand, that shall come in the end of the world. So you see? Proper, perfect understanding. That's something that you can't deny. The more we go into it, is the more we can't deny. But I'll close off here. I want to get some more precepts. But I will close off here for now. I want to do a next, I can't say a part 2. I want to go and do a continuation next time. Alright? So, I hope this lesson was edifying. We say Shalom Yasharala. Because we could see now how Israel, Jews, became Greeks or Gentiles, as mentioned into the New Testament. Because of when you go into a history line, it's very well identified. It's an undeniable fact, man. Come on. It's very well identified. Even in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, is what it says. Because verse 1 identifies who he's talking about, and when it says, when Paul says what brethren, which goes into Adelphos or Aldelphos or something like that, which is having the same national ancestors or belonging to the same people or countryman, or his brother by blood. This is evident as who he was referring to, and who is Paul, an Israelite from the seed from the tribe of Benjamin. So he's speaking to his people when it says, oh gosh, where's the precept? I don't want to butcher it. Let me get the precept real quick. When it says, 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verses 2, when it says, so like, wow, what happened? 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verses 2. It says, ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these idols, even as ye were led. Because one gave it away already, who was speaking number, which is who? Jakes, the Israelites, right? That's one. And two, made it more prominent because the way it was responded, went back to what the law says, that he would be carried away unto these idols, which we can get in Deuteronomy. A quick precept, verse 27. Even in Baruch, but we get after, it says, It says, Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in numbers among the heathen, whether Yahweh shall lead you, and there ye shall serve gods, which the works of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. This is what it's talking about. All right, it goes back and to say what? Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. Because when you go into the word Gentile here, it means pagan. Ye know that you were pagan. Why? Because you were being pagan. You were keeping you're keeping the customs of these heathens. You're being ungodly. You're being wicked by doing these acts. That's why it says, ye that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. You became wicked jakes. By following the ways of the customs of the, you became exiled, outcasts to be exact, that were being brought back in. That's why it says that. Even in the book of Baruch, where it says what would have happened when we, let me get a precept. Baruch chapter 4 verse 6. You know what I'm coming into. It says, ye were sold to the nations, not for your destructions, but because ye move the Most High, or the power, to wrath, you were delivered unto the enemies. For ye you were delivered unto them. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils, and not to power, as mentioned. More and more. So we could identify who Corinthians chapter 12 and 2 is talking about. Jakes. Jews. That became pagan, that became Gentiles, because of forsaking the covenant given unto them, and teaching their very children and for children the exact same acts that they begin to practice in the heathen lands. So I hope this lesson is edifying us again. Salak. Shalom Yasharahala. Kal Halalia Yahawa Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakakwadash. We give double honors to the apostles and prophets and elders of James Camp, but on great mission for bring forth the 100% truth that have been currently edified under. Shalom to the elect tabernacle of David, and I'm Robert Yak saying to you, Shalom. So stay tuned.